it's Angie from Canterbury Trails Farm. I've been down for 2 weeks with my back. We went to Joplin, Missouri on that long trip, and I just haven't been able to recover from, which is weird because the second week I was actually worse this week than the week before. Fortunately, I've had enough videos that I had done and edited and that I preloaded them, so I haven't fallen behind on my posting, but I have fallen behind on my filming, but hopefully I'll catch up. But today I'm feeling a little bit better, so I'm gonna see how long I can last to get started on this video. I've been watching, as I've been laid up, I've been watching a lot of homesteading videos and just videos in general on YouTube and about the coronavirus. And there seems to be a lot of misinformation out there on just exactly what a virus is to begin with and what people think they can do to kill a virus, if that's the right word. So I also started seeing the whole face mask thing, and I probably have left comments with quotes from various medical doctors and things, leading medical doctors on viruses and stuff, on various videos, on comments, because they have said that face masks, unless you are sick, face masks don't really help unless you're in a crowded area. I started thinking, there are a lot of times that we are in crowded areas, and despite what people are saying that you don't need the face mask, it really started making me think. Since the coronavirus has broken out, I've been either in the ER or the hospital on 4 separate occasions. In the ER occasion, we were surrounded by severely sick, really, really sick people that I'm sure had the flu. And we had no face mask, and there were no face masks. They were gone. And I sat there thinking of my box of face masks and my respirator and everything we got at the homestead, wishing I had some of them here, and I didn't. So in a case like that, it would be beneficial to have it. So before we get started, let me back up. And I wrote this down because I don't want to misspeak, and I want to make sure that the information that I put on this video is accurate. First of all, there is a difference between a viral infection and a bacterial infection. A virus cannot live on its own for very long, although they can live up to, let's see, I got one other study showed that they could live up for 9 days at room temperature on surfaces. Certain surfaces, they last longer. On like copper and steel, they can only last up to 2 hours before they die. A bacterial infection is its own little thing. It's the bacteria, it's the own little infection in a cell. A virus needs to have a living host. So it gets in you and it goes into your cells, and it has your cells reproduce to replicate the virus. So that's why a vaccine, and this is another thing I've heard, people are often using vaccines. It's almost like they're thinking about an antibiotic, like you go get a vaccine and it kills something, which is not what a vaccine is. A vaccine takes a little bit of the actual infection, inserts it into your body, and it encourages your body to recognize that virus, like, oh hey, we know you and you're bad, and you build up, the idea is you try to build up an immunity, and your white blood cells go out and attack it. If you know any of your history, the vaccines, I believe the first vaccine started, and I might be wrong, I need to check on this, was smallpox, and smallpox had a similar or a sister virus called cowpox. And milkmaids were exposed to this cowpox, and they had built up an immunity. And the doctors recognized that these milkmaids were not coming down with smallpox because they had built up an immunity to cowpox. So they took some, this is really gross, cowpox live virus from the pus of a cowpox sore, and they injected it into a healthy person. So the healthy person would build up the immunity, and then the healthy person was exposed to smallpox, and they didn't get smallpox. So their theory was proven correct, and that's how we got down on that journey. So when I'm seeing people talking about when we get our vaccine, no one's going to get, but that's not, really the way it works. The vaccine, just like it helps you, when we vaccinate our children, some of us, it helps them build up an immunity so they don't get like mumps or whatever. That's the first thing. And I will put some links that I have found useful that helps explain some of these things from like real doctors for you in my thing. That's the other thing. Antibiotics are not going to kill the coronavirus, the COVID-19, because antibiotics can only treat bacteria, and this is a virus. So Can mainly be transferred from person to person from coughing and sneezing, the droplets, and also from contact surface, from touching hands, from high-fiving. You've all seen little kids with the green boogery nose. They pick their nose, they smear it all over the toy. Other kid that's healthy comes and picks up the boogery smeared toy. That kid puts their hands in his mouth, and then he's sick. So we all know that that's a transfer, and that is how this is transferred. So they're saying, the face masks are not beneficial unless you're like up next to a sick person, or you're working with a sick person, or you're helping a sick person, just like a mother changing the diaper of a sick infant, or someone that's in close contact with someone that has COVID-19. So for me, the face mask are a precaution. If I lived in a city area, if I had to take a subway or somewhere where I was sitting right next to somebody that I don't know if they're sick or not, it'd be a good idea. If you're in the ER, I think it's a good idea. If you are sick yourself and you don't know what your illness is, it's a good idea to keep other people from getting sick. I started thinking, well, if we're going to make these face masks, is there a way that can make them more beneficial? And so I started looking at antimicrobial fibers and antimicrobial fabrics, thinking, what if the liner in a face mask or the actual fabric itself was antimicrobial? What is an antimicrobial product? I'm going to just read my definition. It kills or slows the spread of microorganisms, bacteria, viruses, fungi such as mold and mildews, and protozoans. It disrupts and prevents the growth of microorganisms. So it doesn't necessarily kill them. It does say it can, but it doesn't necessarily kill it. It could slow spread. So maybe it makes it more difficult. Maybe it does kill it, or it also disrupts it. So that to me was a plus. If the face mask isn't going to be 100%, at least if you added an antimicrobial fiber to the mix, maybe it also further inhibits the transfer of the virus. So I started researching antimicrobial fabrics. What I was seeing was, one, they were very expensive, and two, most of them were too thick to breathe through. They weren't breathable fabrics. There were lots of vinyls. There were lots of things used in hospitals for different kind of surgical fabrics, and vinyl like shower curtains and crib and bed liners and that sort of thing. Then I got on thinking, well, they make antimicrobial workout clothes that doesn't allow to pick up body odor. It kills the body odor. You don't smell. And these clothes, you're supposedly be able to wear them for days on end and you don't stink. So I know there was fabric out there that had to be safe. And then I started back on my research when I made my own. I've always made my own baby wipes and also cloth diapers. And throughout the years, as I've written articles on them, as technology and things have advanced, I've done more research. Things that weren't available back in the late 90s and early 2000s when I had babies, things that are available now. And in the diaper world, there are antimicrobial fabrics that are used for making cloth diapers. So I started looking at those because I figured, okay, if those are going to be safer, then obviously they have to be breathable if we're putting them in diapers. So I really started researching. The problem I was coming up against with these antimicrobial fabrics was that most of them had silver and other kind of chemicals, but they were like fibrous things woven into these fabrics, which aren't good necessarily to inhale. So I had to keep digging, and I thought there must be some that it's so tangled and so woven that it isn't an inhalation problem. It isn't a risk. So I started digging around what is a fabric that hasn't been rated toxic, that has been rated safe, and I came up Zorb antimicrobial silver fabric with a product called Silvador in it. Silvador. It's made with cellulose fibers from bamboo and cotton, stuff like that. The bacteria can't form or grow. It inhibits the growth of these microorganisms. It keeps down odor and infection causing bacteria, and it contains no toxic chemicals. So I started really researching this particular brand of fabric. It was breathable, it was made in the USA, and it was antimicrobial. So my research led in two paths. Basically, what it came down to is some of these antimicrobial products have been DNA disruptors, so that they not necessarily toxic, but they change things in your body. Of them have said that they are in such low quantities that they have no repercussions at all to the human body. So it's like a split thing. I encourage you to do your research and find out what you're comfortable with. I finally came to the conclusion that this particular brand of fabric, I can't speak for everyone else, but this Zorb antimicrobial fabric, and it's a liner. It looks like a quilt batting. It's used for diapers. I felt like the risk on this was either non-existent or low enough that I felt safe putting it between two other layers of cotton fabric. So I'm not actually putting the liner fabric right up against my nose. It's between two other fabrics. This also had the benefit of it can be laundered in warm water up to 120 degrees, and it can be hung to dry or it can be tumble dried on low. A lot of these antimicrobial fabrics I was finding couldn't be laundered, and you know, if you have a face mask, eventually you're going to need to wash it because of spit. And this one did have the capability of being washed without losing its effectiveness. And I found it on Wazzoodle Fabrics. I'm going to show you the little Wazzoodle Fabrics. And it is the Zorb, Z-O-R-B, original antimicrobial silver fabric with silver dirt. And that is what I decided to use my liner. So I figured if I'm going to make a face mask, I want it to be the antimicrobial fabric adds that other certain element. So I started then, after I researched all that and thought, you know, how can I up the ability to stop or hinder viruses a little bit, I started looking at face masks. So I pulled apart one and looked at how it was constructed. And using all these face masks while we're renovating the house, I thought, what is the, you know, problems with these masks? Well, the one problem is that usually it doesn't go under your chin. So it like cuts off and it's not airtight. I mean, obviously you got to breathe, but I mean, stuff can get in. It's not like the kind with the big canisters that we have, but when I put those on, I seem to freak out. I can't deal with the total enclosure of my face. It just, I'm not a scuba diver. I'm not gonna be an astronaut. That just freaks me out. I don't like, even in the dentist chair, I don't like it. I don't like using those. So what were the other issues I've encountered? Well, the other thing is on the nose. A lot of them come with the metal thing, but if you have a small bridge of a nose, or if you're Asian like my kids are, they have hardly no bridge at all. Their nose is not like a Caucasian and African American and Latino nose where we have bridges. I have a big Irish schnoz here. But I thought, well, how can I handle that? So I started making mock-ups. The first one I made, I felt was not big enough. So notice it doesn't come down on my chin that much, and there's this gap where my eye sockets are. So that one was out. So then I made it larger, and then I added elastic on the bridge of the nose to cinch it in. And I only added that on this one doesn't have the liner in it yet. These are just the two outer ones. The fabric was $20 for 1 yard, so it was too expensive to play around with. I've got to cut for the real ones now. But anyway, so we add a little piece of elastic there. I made the mask bigger and deeper. And my thought was, I want the mask to go completely under my chin, and I want it tight. I want it tight. I don't want it to choke me, but I want it tight so nothing can get in. And I want it large enough that it can go over my cheekbones and also fit flat against my face. And the elastic on the outside, it looks like it's not, but on the inside it cinches it in. It's almost completely against my nose. So that was the mock-up. I did, I think, end up cutting the next side, the ones that I'm fixing to sew, a little larger than this one, because I I'm a woman, so I figured a man's face is going to be a little bit bigger, and the nose is probably going to be a little larger, even though I have a pretty big nose. That was my second mock-up, and that one actually had the strings. I had one more, which I don't know where it is, and that's where I said I made the one that I used to make the pattern. And I will, of course, make this pattern available, and you can download it and trace it. It's just one size. I encourage you to make it like I did, out of just use muslin, scrap fabric, whatever, and make a test one first. You not necessarily don't have to put the liner in it, but make the inner liner. But do make the two liner fabric and the exterior part of it, so you can try it on and feel if you need to make it a little larger or smaller. I just did a one-size-fits-all thing here. I wanted to make a good color. I thought, well, brown is a good color, but I also have these here for, I don't mind mine being a print. So you're going to need 4 pieces of your interior and exterior fabric, and then you're going to need 2 pieces of the liner. I tried to work a way where this could be on a fold or something, and I never could get the fit right, and it was too boxy and square. So you're going to have to sew. Basically, you're going to have 6 pieces that you're going to sew together. This is outside, inside, and this is the inside, the interior liner. So, and then you need 2 9-inch pieces of elastic, and this is a fourth. This is a fourth. Yeah, it's a fourth. A half probably would have been better. The bigger might have been a little better, but I didn't have it. I just had a big roll of this. So using a straight stitch, then I'm going to switch to a zigzag. Zigzag my seams. So now I have 3 parts here. So I want to take one of the pieces, and I want to insert that down, make sure it's lined up right, inside of the liner. I want to fold one of the pieces right side out. And I want to put that inside the liner. So I have the 2 touching face to face, or right side to right side. And then I have it all inside the liner here. I'll try to tuck it all in there. Okay, and on the side, I'm going to leave that side open, so I can turn it inside out through that side. So I'm going to try to line up. I'm going to start it right here. Found that pinning the whole thing was a little bit time consuming, and I ended up not working. You sort of have to do it a little bit at around here so you can get it. Okay, when you come to the end, the other side here, so here's what we've got. We've got like an open mask here. Can you see? You're going to take one of your elastics, and you're going to put it back. You can do this so I want to pin one here. You want to see the tail. I'm going to go ahead and put a pin on that. And get your other one. Pin that. So you have like both sticking out. Now you want to put it on the inside. You want to bring it out your other end over here. Put a pin there just to hold that in place. And bring your other elastic. You have both. You have elastic sticking out over here, you have elastic sticking out over here. So up here at the top, you're going to need a piece of 1.5 inch elastic. Okay, I want to do a zigzag. So I want to start that like one stitch just to hold that down in there. Now I want to flatten out my fabric, and I want to stretch that elastic as far as I can. And I want to sew it while I'm stretching it. So what will happen if I stretch the elastic while I'm sewing it and let it go, then it gathers up the fabric here. Okay, so now I can push all that back in there. You could do that before you sew it too if you wanted to, but it sort of draws up your fabric. Alright, now I'm going back over to, go back to straight stitch, back to where I left off before we put the first piece of elastic in and pinned it here. So I'm going to sew through these pieces of elastic and everything, lining up my fabric. And you want to keep pushing, make sure you got your elastic away from your fabric so it's not getting in there. Now when you come up here to the nose part, you may have to work with it to get it flat. Pull it a little bit. Okay, when you get to this end, you're going to want to leave the hole open so you can reach in there and pull it. Hopefully I left my hole big enough here. Let's see. Oh, let me go around here. Oh, let me do my zigzag real quick before I forget. Anywhere. In fact, the last one I left it at the bottom. I'm thinking I probably should have done this one, done that with this, but we'll see here. So just find the fabric and you're going to pull it through the hole. And you want to sew that opening shut. So I'm going to top stitch around the outside of mine. Just one, it makes it a little stronger. And two, it just looks a little more professionally put together. So you can see that up here is where the nose part is, because you can see part of the zigzag up here where the elastic was is underneath the inside. Right there's the nose. It doesn't work well with headscarves. It has enough room up here, and I can feel it. The inner part is elastic over my nose. And this part, probably should have adjusted a little bit more. It does get warm fast, just like another face mask. But because there's a little bit of room up here, a little bit of room, you know, it's not airtight, so I can breathe through it fine. It's just like a mask that I would buy, like a 3M mask kind of thing. So that's the face mask. I'll get the pattern up there. There are tons online. If you don't like this design, there are other designs. I just found a lot of them that people had were really very triangular. Some of them were rectangles. The rectangles are completely useless because they just go, I mean, there's just too much open. You buy a rectangle one from a store, they like expand the way they're sewn. Now I have seen some out there that are sewn so you can expand it, but that gets really difficult in the sewing technique. Please make a mock-up with scraps and do it. I would, you know, do the 9-inch, see how it feels, and you might want tighter or big. Remember, this isn't a cure-all, and this might not even be effective at all unless you're sitting right next to a sick person. But it's nice to have. Do your research, see what you think, and for this has been Angie from Canterbury Trails Farm. Talk to you later. Bye.